Hey guys, Collie C here, and today is a book summary about Set for Life by Scott Trench. Now, this is a good book, my guys, and I'm going to go through a few of the steps here. And this is specifically for people who haven't earned, I guess they haven't saved their first $25,000, and then it goes on to the $100,000. So it's a good book. There's 13 or 12 points I'm going to go through, and it's very practical for everybody. And you may be thinking that $25,000 saved is pretty hard and pretty tough, but these are the methods and the strategies to do so at an early age. I mean, you can do it at an older age as well. Specifically, this book is written for people in their 20s, 30s, but even if you're in your 40s, you can do it. We all start somewhere. The best time to invest was yesterday, and the second best time is today. So frugality is something that you're going to find in a lot of these books that we're going to be doing some reviews over, especially this book. And what's interesting is I want to go over this concept, and a lot of people don't like this. They think that it kind of contradicts the Killing Sacred Cows, Garrett Gunderson's perspective, which he doesn't like to create a budget, doesn't like to cut expenses, because he thinks it kind of makes you think in scarcity. But sometimes it is the proper step to do. And so step number one is going to be cutting expenses. And essentially, if you cut your expenses, it's money that's already there. So you don't have to go earn it. And it's easier to cut expenses because it's money that's has already been earned, rather than going and earning another dollar. Because that extra dollar you earn is taxed. So essentially it's less than $1, if that makes sense. For every dollar you earn every dollar you earn, you also have to minus taxes, versus if you already have money that's already around you, then essentially it's a full dollar, it's a full expense that you can capture. So you lower your expenses and you can capture that, versus you're getting half of a dollar because of taxes. So right away, you want to look at your expenses and see how low you can get it. Now, we all know that there's a limit to how low your expenses can get. I get that. Maybe you can, and we're going to talk about how you can do that, but you can only put your expenses so low. But I challenge you to think about what you can do to decrease your expenses, because our luxuries become our standard if we're not careful. And we get so used to and so comfortable with our standards and our luxuries that it ends up becoming a standard. But it's like, I want to challenge you on that. Is that really something you need? Can you cut some food? Can you cut some expenses here and there, subscriptions? Look for ways to lower your expenses. And here's one major way that you can lower your expenses. A lot of the time, people are paying for, they're either buying a house, or they're probably paying like a lot for rent. Everyone's different. But the first step here is with your rent, and it's called house hacking. So renting, house hacking, what that means is you either buy a single family house and you have roommates inside, and you just split the rent, which is basically you're lowering your mortgage. If your mortgage is $2,000 per month and you split it with people, obviously you're splitting it in half, and so on, the more people you put in there. Or you could perhaps buy a duplex, same thing. Your mortgage might be $3,000, etc. You get the idea. And the more, you can even buy a fourplex as well, multifamily, and do the same thing. Live in one and have tenants here. And essentially, all the rent is going to pay for your mortgage. So now you're ending up maybe either paying a very, like, let's just say very little amount, $200 per month, for example, or maybe even zero, or maybe even having cash flow, meaning it's not only covering the debt service and eliminating it, but you're also getting an extra maybe $200 per month cash flow. So the reason why Scott Trench loves real estate, especially like choosing real estate over stocks, by the way, which is according to him, because stocks, only offers you like equity. I mean, it's like potential. It's not paying you cash flow. Like with real estate, you have cash flow, you have taxes, tax benefits, and you also have more control because you can kick off the tenants, you can control who's in the house, you can look at the house yourself, you can physically touch it. Versus a stock, you don't have control. Someone could ruin the stock. Plus, there's no tax benefits for stocks as far as I'm aware. Maybe there are. And there's no cash flow unless it's dividends. But for the most part, you got these three benefits here. And it's just, I mean, stocks at the beginning is just, it's a good vehicle, but maybe not at the beginning stages. So he recommends real estate, house hacking, which is a great way to save money. So essentially, his concept in the book is how can you live for free? Live for free. Because now, if you were paying $2,000 a month, now you're living for free because your rent's getting paid, or if it's cheaper, anything that's saved, or anything that's less than this number is basically pocketed, and now you just increased. This is how much you can put in your pocket every month towards saving. And doing the math here, so you can see that in 1 year you're getting $24,000. And that's in 1 year, you could save $24,000 if you house hacked with a fourplex, for example, and you were able to save all this amount instead of, your tenants were paying that and had your equity, your principal pay down, and you just were able to keep that and save it potentially. Not including, of course, if you had to pay for repairs, maintenance, and whatnot. But let's just say like you're getting way closer just by that one move. So living for free. Another big hack that he talks about is cutting down on your commuting costs. Now, this is something that, again, you probably would be much easier for you to do in your single years and without a family, perhaps. But essentially, you want to look at your job, look at your career, where you want to work, find a place. So he does talk about living for free, right? We talked about that, live free. Number 2 is going to be the career and location of that. With your location, if you can live in the area, like really close to where your job is, you potentially can eliminate your vehicle. And if you eliminate your vehicle, I mean, you're saving potentially $400 a month plus. You can ride a bicycle, you're getting healthier. And I know that sounds crazy, but or you can work from home. If you work from home, you don't have to have a vehicle. You can just have a bicycle or electric scooter or something like that. And that can allow you to save another additional $400. So let's just say you're now saving $2,400 per month now, which can be saved, and that equals, and that's enough that you can put towards an asset, which we'll talk about that, which is what he wants you to do, is put all that money towards assets. And if we multiply that by 12, that's 28,800 per year. And so that's the location, which is great. Live for free, boom, boom. Now, number 2 is career. You want to find a career, or I should say a job, probably better, that allows you to climb and have potential to grow. If you just have a job that's just a 9 to 5, it's you're maxed out. The only way you can get paid more is by working hourly. You're going to be limited, because what you want to look for potentially is something that could either offer you like maybe a salary plus commission, or just commission, because you want to have the ability, or bonuses or quarterly bonuses, something that allows you, or even stock in the company, something that you can allow you to increase your income every year. Because when you're 20 and you're working through you're in your 20s, you're in your 30s, and you have a job, and every single year you might start out at, I don't know, you might start at $50,000 a year. Let's just be more conservative. You might start out at making $20,000 a year. And the next year maybe you can make 45 because you increased your skills. Then the next year maybe 62. And then the next year 78. I mean, and then maybe you can get to 100 figures within 5 years. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah. So now it's like you have the ability to increase your income and your skills, which Not every job can get you. You might have a job where you're just stuck at the 45, and the only way to get to this is to work more hours. And I just think that goes against his principles in the book. You don't want to do that. You want to find something that allows you to progress. Sales, again, that's a great one. Something I love because you're working on your skills, and the more you earn is based on your skill set. So you're combining the career/income lever. You have another lever, which is living for free, and you also have another lever of location / lowering your expenses with your car, your vehicle, and you can see how quickly you can get to 25K, which really allows you to make some major moves when it comes to investing. Because when you have your first 25K, and if you can even save 25K per year or more, that's when you can invest into passive income assets, perhaps more real estate, for example. I mean, it could be anything. And every single year that could be a down payment for a new property. So essentially, within 5 years, or every single year, you can have a fourplex, a 4, and a 4. You can have 12 properties within 5 years. And that's, if you do real estate. But the idea is this gives you way more leverage, way more buying power than just saving a few $1,000s a year. So basically, his goal is he wants to have your income or your savings rate as high as 50% of your income. So if you are earning 50K, you want to be able to save 25K. If you're earning 100K, you can save 50K. If you earn 150, half of that. So the savings rate, he wants it to be at 50%. That's a good goal. And the reason why he says that as a rule, because there's something called the income lifestyle trap, which we've all done it. We've heard of people doing this, but the more your income increases, the more that your expenses increase. And guess what? You're back at zero again. You're broke on a higher level. And so the idea is, as your income increases, you continue to keep your expenses here, and perhaps each year you could keep it the same, or you could maybe raise it a little bit with discipline. But as you continue to rise your income, you want to keep your expenses low. So all this you can potentially save and invest aggressively. And why are we investing? What's the purpose? Well, I don't want to skip over this one part here that he does mention that, and this may be some of your guys' situation in the book, but you do want to attack your debt relentlessly. That is one way of investing. Maybe you don't know about assets yet and you're still learning. You can put all that cash ruthlessly towards your debt and attack it so you can get away from high interest. Interest is basically you pay the money back that you borrowed plus extra. So you want to ruthlessly put that money towards your debt, which is a guaranteed return. You might think that, okay, I have a lot of debt, perhaps, and I have this speculative asset here. This could give me a good return, good cash flow, but I also have debt. Which one should I choose? If I had to choose between both, with my money, with $5,000, for example, you should choose the debt because it's guaranteed. It's guaranteed that this is going to be eliminated. Therefore, you have X return, which again is money that you already had, you didn't have to earn, and it's guaranteed money back in your pocket. Versus if you did this, it's speculative. It could work, it may not work, but you still have the debt. So in reality, the returns are actually lower than you thought because you have this, plus you have taxes, so they're even lower than you thought. So this is usually a better choice. It all depends, but that's, according to the book, that's what he's saying is attack your debt, get out of that, as well as saving for assets. When you buy assets, what's the purpose? Why do we buy assets? Well, you want to reach what's called your freedom number. What is your freedom number? Your freedom number is your expenses. So if your expenses, for example, are $4,000 per month, which we want to get that as low as possible, but let's pretend it is $4,000 per month for you to live, for you to just to exist, just to pay bills, just for rent, just for all your bills. If you can get your assets with all that cash that you accumulated earlier, you buy yourself some assets, it produces some cash. And you continue to buy more assets that produce more cash. That cash eventually is going to be, let's say it starts out at $200 per month passive income, and then eventually it's, $3,000, and then eventually you continue to invest, and now your passive income is $4,000 per month. That is your freedom number. Now, in a different way, instead of you being broke at a higher level, you now essentially don't owe anything, because now you hit your freedom number. So you're essentially back at ground zero again, in a good way, because now you have what he talks about, which is time. Time is your realest asset, your best asset. And now you have time, and you still don't have any extra, cash extra, but you have time. Because now all your assets are working for you to pay your expenses instead of you having to work for them. So now you've escaped the rat race. You now have your freedom number, and you have time now. So you're like, okay, what do I do with my life? Well, you can do whatever you want with time. All the stuff that you can do that requires no money, you can do it for free with your time, because you have a lot of time now. But again, you don't have any extra income. So at that point, you need to continue investing, whatever the amount is, continue buying these assets, continue getting more cash. Eventually this number, 4,000, increases to 5,000, and 6,000, and then now you have some extra cash now. You have time plus, 2,000 per month, for example. And now you're like, okay, well, now this is truly some passive income now above what I need. So what do I do with this amount? Well, it's really up to you at that point. You've escaped the rat race. You can kind of play a different game. You can reinvest that. You can buy things. You can spend it. You can kind of increase your expenses now if you want to at a smarter level. Because now if you have an extra $2,000 a month and you increase your expenses by $2,000 again, well, now you're essentially at $6,000 per month expenses and $6,000 passive income. And you're essentially just moving this bar upwards, and you're free, and you just continuously stay free. So really just comes down to you, and really it's the lifestyle inflation of not lowering your expenses and all these other mistakes that are listed in the book. And our last point here is that early financial freedom is really a choice. And a lot of these, Scott Trench talks about how he believes that you want to aggressively do this at the beginning of your life. Because you have two choices. Either you do it at the beginning or you do it at the end. You either get retired when you're 40s or 50s, or you do it in your 20s and 30s. And you do your best to reach it quickly. Because early financial freedom is a choice. And you don't have to choose that. But if you do, it's going to be a sacrifice. It's going to be relentless. But when you get there, you're free. You've reached financial freedom faster than most people. And again, why would you not want that? And it's really up to you whether you want to do it later in life or sooner in life. But again, it requires focus. It requires sacrifice. It requires unconventional decisions, delayed gratification. It's absolutely achievable within a decade. Within 10 years, it's absolutely achievable if you can follow the rules. What we just listed out. Live for free. Eliminate your cost of transportation. Make sure your career allows you to increase your income. Or perhaps you can start a business or buy a business which allows you to increase your income. Just getting some sort of earning vehicle, could be a side hustle, that allows you to earn. Do those three things. Kill debt. Invest in assets. Lower expenses. Escape the rat race. Do it relentlessly. Take yourself seriously. Get everybody else on board. Hope you enjoy the book. I sure loved it. It's a phenomenal book. because why would you not want to be set for life? Call Lisi out.
Determination to building a financial foundation that could last me a lifetime, and I optimized my day-to-day life around the journey. Financial freedom was and is a passion of mine, something that I could not stop reading about, writing about, talking about, and having invested in a 401k or other retirement vehicle. The problem with this formula is that the working person following it will be forced to work for wage income for the better part of their day, during the best part of their week, throughout the best years of their life. At best, they will retire with a modest amount of wealth late in life and be forced to hope it's enough to last. How about a different formula for the American dream? How about something capable of producing a retirement level of wealth in less than 10 years? How about less than 5? How about retiring in your 20s from wage-paying work? Those who accomplish this financial result can laugh off would-be employers who ask them to be at work before 9 a.m. She can spend a sunny summer Tuesday at the park instead of crunching spreadsheets in a dusty cubicle. He can stay up until 3 a.m. binge-watching Yellowstone on Sunday night and head to the gym at noon on Monday. She can rent out her house and travel the world, living like a local. He can start a business funded by passive income, volunteer in his community, or focus on... Part 1. The first $25,000 is the hardest. This part will show you how to put yourself in a position where you have more than a year of financial runway. It teaches you how to accumulate your first meaningful amount of capital. You'll do this by focusing heavily on the preservation of your median income and cutting out spending where it will have the most impact. To achieve the goal of this section, you will need to accumulate at least 1 year of spending in readily accessible cash or cash equivalents. Why should you do this? Because this runway buys you flexibility, freedom, and the ability to make your first big investment. This kind of wealth building makes the next stage of wealth creation easy and automatic. It will also force you to think about building readily accessible wealth, not just maxing out a 401k or making a mortgage payment. While you cannot retire forever on a year of savings, you can certainly introduce yourself to a wealth of choice, the ability to take advantage of opportunities unavailable to those with weaker financial positions. Chapter 3. What to do with money as you save it. Chapters 1 and 2 have helped you understand the theory behind frugality and develop a practical plan to live on less than half your take-home pay, all in the pursuit of building up your first $25,000. After reading those 2 chapters, you should understand what you have to do to save thousands of dollars per month on a middle-class income.